All right, you ready? Today I've got some stuff that'll keep you on edge. Subscribe for more, and let's get started. I, 19 female, joined a Discord support group when I was 16, and they invited me to a weekend retreat. I just found out what happened to the kids who actually went. This one was posted to r/let's not meet about 6 days ago by Slept with the Light On, and I want to warn you right now, this is not your typical creepy encounter. This one goes somewhere really dark. She opens the post like someone who has been holding their breath for 3 years and is finally letting it out. I need to get this out before I lose my nerve. I'm 19 female now, but this started when I was 16. My parents had just split. Mom checked out completely and Dad moved 2 states away. I was drowning and nobody around me noticed or cared. Found the server through a mental health hashtag on Twitter. At first it felt like a lifeline. Warm welcomes, a mentor named Alex who messaged me every single day, nightly voice chats that felt like the only real connection I had. But looking back, the red flags were there from the start. They kept saying my IRL friends didn't get me, that my school counselor would just report me. We were family, and family protects each other. After 3 months, the mods announced a weekend retreat at a cabin on some rural property. Travel costs covered, just our little family getting together in person. I printed out the directions. My grandmother found them on the counter and lost it. Said I was not going and that was the end of it. I hated her for it. I resented that woman for years. Then, 3 years later, I'm scrolling a local news aggregator and I find a cached missing persons thread. 4 names I recognized instantly. Kids from my server cohort who actually went to that retreat. The thread got scrubbed within hours. That same night, the entire Discord was wiped clean, like it never existed. I think my grandmother saved my life. She sat on this for 3 years, thinking her grandmother was just being paranoid. And now she knows the truth. This is only the beginning of what she found. And trust me, you are not ready for what comes next. OP pulls the thread back here, takes us all the way inside the server. Not the moment she found the missing persons post, but the months she spent believing this place was home. And she lays out the mechanics piece by piece. The server had about 40 people when I joined. Within a day, 3 mods DM'd me saying how brave I was for reaching out. They assigned me a mentor that night, D, supposedly 19. They were nightly voice check-ins at 10. Started optional. By week 2, if you missed one, your mentor would blow up your DMs. Are you safe? Did someone hurt you? Easier to just show up. D started asking where I lived, my school, my mom's schedule, if I was home alone after class. I told him everything. Server rule. No screenshots, no sharing the link, protecting the safe space. Nobody questioned it. Then came the retreat. Cabin upstate, full weekend, travel paid. Just our little family. The 4 who jumped at it were the most broken. Haley, 15 female, foster care. Marcus, 16 male, hadn't spoken to his parents in months. Jess, maybe 14, barely talked. Bean, 15, had run from home twice. Night before the trip, Haley said on voice it was the first time anyone wanted her around. My grandmother found the directions in my bag and shut it down. I hated her, stopped logging on. When I tried to rejoin 3 weeks later, the server was gone. Every link dead, no mutual contacts. I told myself it was just some weird phase, believed that for 3 years. She reads off those 4 names the way you would a memorial. 4 kids whose biggest crime was needing someone, anyone, to care whether they woke up the next morning. And OP carried that silence alone for 3 full years. Until one cached thread blew the whole thing open. This is where OP stops looking backward and starts pulling threads. I started with the names. I looked up all 4 of them on every platform I could think of. 3 had gone completely dark. No posts, no activity, nothing since 2022. But the 4th, the girl I used to talk to the most, her Instagram had been turned into a memorial page. No cause of death, no obituary linked, just forever in our hearts, and a bunch of candle emojis from people I didn't recognize. I sat there staring at it for 20 minutes before I could keep going. I tracked down a 5th member, someone who had been in the server but also didn't go to the retreat. We talked for almost 3 hours. She confirmed everything. The love bombing, the isolation, all of it. She said when she told her mentor she couldn't make the trip, he got cold overnight. Stopped responding, stopped checking in. Like a switch flipped. I tried to find the property next. I remembered enough from the directions they sent to narrow it down to a county. I pulled property records and traced the address to an LLC registered in a completely different state. No names, no public officers, just a P.O. box. I called local police and asked about the missing persons from that area. The officer told me the case wasn't active. Not closed, just not active. I started screenshotting everything I still had. Cached pages, old DMs, the memorial account, the LLC filing. I didn't know what I was building yet, but I knew I needed it all before it disappeared too. The comments came in fast on this one. The fact that they wiped the server the same night the article went up tells you everything. They were monitoring local news coverage in real time. These people are organized. Your grandmother saved your life. I don't say that lightly. She literally saved your life, and I hope she knows that. The part where he used your real name and your street, that's not just intimidation, that's a message. He's telling you they kept files on everyone. You need to take this seriously as a direct threat. I know. That's what broke me. I moved 2 years ago and he still had my old street, which means they cataloged that info while I was still a minor in the server. I've been going back through my old screenshots, and they asked us to fill out a comfort profile when we joined. Favorite foods, allergies, home situation, whether we lived with one parent or two. I thought it was for mental health support. It was an intake form. And that last line from OP is the one that sits with you. An intake form, disguised as care. 2 weeks went by with nothing. Then OP came back with an update post, and the tone had completely shifted. I filed the report, and now I know why the news article was taken down. I wish I didn't have to write this. 2 days after my last post, I got a Discord DM from an account I didn't recognize. No mutual servers, no profile picture, nothing. The message used my real first name, not my username, my actual name, and the street I grew up on. I never shared either of those on the server, ever. The message was from my old mentor. He said the retreat went beautifully and asked if I was ready to finish what I started. I couldn't stop shaking. I reported the account, but before it got taken down, I traced it back to a brand new server. Same layout, same rules, same welcome message. Peer mental health support branding, assigned mentors, nightly voice calls. Over 200 members already, and from what I could see, a lot of them were minors. Then I pulled the LLC from the property records I found earlier and ran it through a few databases. It connects to 2 other rural addresses in neighboring states. Different names, same registered agent, same shell company structure. This is not some one-off thing. This is an operation, and it is still running. The comment section went off after this one dropped. Please tell me you've contacted the FBI and not just local police. Local departments do not have the resources for this. IC3 tip line exists for exactly this kind of thing. I used to mod a mental health Discord, and we had to ban people trying to do exactly this. Sliding into DMs of the most vulnerable members, building trust, then slowly pulling them off platform. It's more common than anyone wants to admit. This is what kills me about the just talk to someone online advice people give to depressed teens. The predators know exactly where to sit and wait. They don't have to find vulnerable kids. The kids come to them already asking for help. So it was not a one-time thing. It was not even dormant. OP had just accidentally stumbled into proof that the whole operation was live again, with a fresh batch of kids walking right into it. OP came back one more time. And honestly, this is the post that hit different. I filed the report, and now I know why the news article was taken down. I'm going to keep this short because I've been told not to share too much. I submitted everything to the FBI's IC3 tip line. The screenshots, the LLC records, the mentor's DM, the link to the new server. All of it. A detective contacted me 2 days later, and I gave a full statement over the phone. She told me things I can't repeat here, but I will say this. The cached news article I found was pulled because of an active investigation. Not because someone was covering it up, because law enforcement was already looking into it. That should have made me feel better, but it didn't. It made me feel worse, because it means whatever happened at that property was bad enough to get federal attention. I don't know what comes next. I've been advised not to post anything else about this. I just wanted to come back and say thank you to everyone who pushed me to go to the FBI instead of local PD. You were right. I still get a friend request from a blank profile every few weeks. I don't accept them anymore. Her account went dark after that. The comments kept coming though. I'm physically sick reading this. 4 kids, 4 names you recognized, and nobody is talking about it. What stays with me about this one is how perfectly the trap was built. A lonely kid, a divorce, a screen, and a voice that says, "I understand you." That's all it took. OP's grandmother saw through it on instinct alone, and that instinct is the only reason she's here telling this story. The group didn't shut down, they rebranded. They are still out there running the exact same playbook on a new batch of kids who just need someone to talk to. If you or someone you know is caught up in something like this, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has a tip line. Use it. All right, the next story is just as unsettling. Let's get into it. My 26 female Uber driver has picked me up 11 times in 2 months, and I just found out it's not a coincidence. All right, this one genuinely made me go back and double check my own ride history after I read it. Posted 6 days ago on r/Let's Not Meet by Quiet Rider 0426. And I want to say up front, this one starts off sounding like absolutely nothing worth worrying about. But pay close attention to the way the details stack up here, because this story sneaks up on you. So I, 26 female, live in a mid-sized city. Not tiny, but not big enough to have a massive driver pool. I use Uber almost every day, work commute, errands, my mom's place on Sundays. Around ride number 4 or 5, I started noticing the same driver. His profile said Mike. Late 30s, clean car, always friendly. He remembered my name after the second pickup, then my job, then my usual stops. I figured he was just one of those people who pays attention and makes good conversation. I'd rate him 5 stars every time and we'd chat the whole ride. It felt comfortable, it felt safe. Then one night I couldn't sleep and I opened my ride history for no real reason, just scrolling. Mike had picked me up 11 times in 2 months. And here is what made my stomach physically drop. Every single one of those 11 rides, he arrived in under 90 seconds. Every one. I live in a city with dozens of active drivers at any given time. Average wait here is 6 to 8 minutes on a normal day. I ran the numbers over and over. The only way someone arrives in under 90 seconds every time is if they are already parked nearby when you request. Already sitting there. Waiting for your ping specifically. He was not getting assigned to me. He was choosing me. Now just hold that for a second. She is sitting in bed at 2 in the morning staring at her phone, watching the math refuse to add up. And every single memory of friendly small talk with Mike is rewriting itself in real time. 11 rides, under 90 seconds every time, in a city where the average wait is 8 minutes. He was not her driver, he was her shadow. And she is only just starting to figure out how deep this actually goes. So at this point, OP has a theory she really does not want to be right about. 11 rides, 90 seconds, every single time. Always the same driver in a city with dozens of active ones. But thinking something is off and actually proving it are 2 very different things. So she decides to run her own little experiment. I started requesting rides at random times, just to test it. Tuesday, 2 a.m. I didn't even need to go anywhere, but I put in a request for the 24-hour pharmacy across town. 90 seconds. Mike. He pulled up like it was completely normal. Saturday, 6 a.m. Mike again, smiling, asking if I had an early start. Then I tried something different. I went to my friend Jess's apartment on the other side of the city and requested a ride from there. Different driver. Some guy named Carlos I had never seen before. I went home, waited an hour, requested from my place. Mike. Under 90 seconds. He was parked somewhere near my apartment, waiting for me to open the app. I went through everything he already knew. He knew I left for work at 7:45 on weekdays. He knew I visited my mom every Sunday. He knew my grocery store. Then came the ride that broke something in me. We were heading to my office and Mike goes, "Hey, did you try that new cafe on Birch Street? The one with the blue awning?" I went cold. I had been there that morning. But I walked. I never opened the app. He saw me go in on his own time. Every friendly question he ever asked me, "How's your mom doing? You still at that job downtown? Trying any new places?" None of it was small talk. He was building a profile. And I had been sitting there, handing him my entire life like it was nothing. That cafe moment is where the floor drops out. Everything before it, you could still rationalize. Coincidence, algorithm, small city with a limited driver pool. After that, there is nothing left to hide behind. She is sitting with all of this now, replaying every single ride in her head. And things are about to get a whole lot worse. So OP finally does the thing most people wait too long to do. She tells someone. I told Jess everything over coffee on a Saturday, pulled up my ride history and handed her my phone. She went quiet for about 10 seconds, then said, "This is not normal. Screenshot all of this right now." So we did. Every ride, timestamps, pickup maps, all of it. 11 rides with the same driver in 2 months, every single one with an arrival time under 90 seconds. Jess made me contact Uber support that day. I wrote out the whole situation, included screenshots, asked them to block this driver from matching with me. The response came back about 14 hours later. We take the safety of our riders seriously and are looking into this matter. That was it. No follow-up, nothing. 2 days later, I requested a ride to the grocery store. Mike. Same car, same smile, same, "Hey, haven't seen you in a while," like we were old friends. I sat in that back seat for 12 minutes, knowing something was wrong and not being able to do anything about it. You cannot explain that feeling to someone who has not lived it. You are locked in a moving vehicle with a person you are afraid of, and you have to act normal. I deleted Uber that night, switched to Lyft, started leaving at different times, took different routes. For about a week, it felt like I had my life back. Then, last Thursday, I came home around 9 p.m., and there was a silver Civic parked 3 houses down from my building. Mike's car. I had not requested any ride, and just like that, the app was not the problem anymore. People in the comments had a lot to say about this one. Former rideshare driver here. There is absolutely no legitimate reason a driver would arrive in 90 seconds every time unless he was camped on your block. The algorithm doesn't work that way. That's exactly what made me finally stop rationalizing it. I kept telling myself, maybe the algorithm favors drivers who are already close. But 11 out of 11 times, under 90 seconds, sometimes at odd hours? I requested one at 11:40 on a Tuesday night once, and he was there before I even got my shoes on. He was already outside. The fact that he was parked outside on nights you didn't request a ride is what got me. He wasn't just intercepting your requests, he was watching you independently. This is why I never get picked up from my actual apartment. I always walk 2 blocks and request from a coffee shop. Reading this makes me feel less paranoid about that habit. OP came back 9 days later with an update post. And honestly, this is where the whole thing stops feeling like a creepy coincidence and starts feeling like something else entirely. They deactivated his account, but no one can tell me who he actually is. So Jess has a friend who works in insurance and can run plates. I know that's a gray area. I don't care anymore. We ran Mike's license plate. The registered address came back to a vacant lot on the east side of town. I drove out there. There's nothing. No house, no trailer, just an empty lot with weeds growing through cracked concrete. The name on his Uber profile doesn't match the name on the vehicle registration. And neither name pulls up a real person in any public records search. No social media, no addresses, no employment history, nothing. I went through my home security camera footage from the past month. His car was parked outside my apartment on 6 separate nights. Nights I never requested a ride. One clip shows him just sitting in the driver's seat for over 3 hours. Not on his phone, not eating, just sitting there facing my building. Another clip shows him getting out, walking up to my front entrance, standing there for maybe 40 seconds, then turning around and going back to his car. I don't know his real name. I don't know where he actually lives, but he knows everything about me. Shorter sentences, less composure. You can feel the shift in how she's writing, like she stopped trying to make it make sense and just started putting down what she knows. The comments on this update went in a very specific direction. I hate that Uber's response was just to deactivate the account. Like, congratulations, you removed a username from a database. The actual human being is still out there with her home address memorized. This is the part that genuinely scares me about gig platforms. There's no real vetting. A deactivated account doesn't mean anything when the person can just make a new one with a different prepaid phone. The infrastructure protects the company, not the passenger. Please tell me you've changed your routine completely. Work hours, gym schedule, everything. He has months of pattern data on you. So here is where things landed. OP came back a few days later with one more update. They deactivated his account, but no one can tell me who he actually is. I filed the police report, brought everything, the screenshots, the ride history, every piece of security camera footage, his plate number. The officer went through all of it and confirmed what I already suspected. The name on the Uber account is completely fabricated. The address is fake. Nothing traces back to a real person. Uber finally deactivated the account after the police got involved, but I want to be clear, that does not make me feel safe. He could register a new account tomorrow under a different fake name and do this all over again to someone else. Or to me. I moved out of my apartment last week. I am staying with my sister across town now. I deleted Uber, deleted Lyft, deleted every rideshare app on my phone. I take the bus or my sister drives me. And I still check behind every parked car before I walk into any building. Every single time. I do not know his real name. I do not know where he actually lives. But he spent months learning everything about me, and I cannot unlearn what that feels like. That last line is the one that stays with you. The vacant lot address is the part that is going to keep me up tonight. That means his whole profile was built from scratch specifically to do this. The scariest part is how much we hand over to total strangers every single day without thinking. And honestly, that is the thing. Think about what happens every time you open a rideshare app. You type in where you are. You type in where you are going. A stranger now has your name, your face, your home address, your workplace, your schedule, and you just get in the car. You trust the app because the app has stars and a profile photo and a first name. But this story proved how thin that layer really is. The name was fake. The address was a vacant lot. The verification failed completely, and someone used that gap to build a detailed map of one person's entire life. A mundane act, requesting a ride, became a surveillance tool. And OP is the one who had to tear everything down and start over. But that is not the only time someone's daily routine turned into a trap. This next story starts with a grocery store, a loyalty card, and a receipt that should not have existed. Every time I come home from the grocery store, there's something in my bag I didn't buy. This next one is the kind of story that ruins something ordinary for you. Something you do every single week without a second thought. Posted 5 days ago on r/letsnotmeet by a user called Grocery Girl Nope. She starts the post the way a lot of these start. Calm, almost bored. Like she's still trying to convince herself nothing's wrong. So I live alone in a mid-rise apartment. 1 bedroom, 4th floor, nothing special. Every Saturday morning, I do my grocery run at the same store 10 minutes away. Same parking spot, same self-checkout lane, 2 years straight. 3 weeks ago, I got home, started unpacking, and found a pack of spearmint gum on top of my produce. I don't chew gum. Never grabbed it. Figured someone left it at self-checkout and it got mixed in. Threw it out. Next Saturday, single lemon rolling around at the bottom of a bag. Checked my receipt. No lemon. Didn't buy a lemon. 3rd Saturday is where I stopped sleeping. A small jar of local honey tucked between my bread and eggs. I'm allergic to honey. But this was the exact brand my doctor recommended during a telehealth visit as a local allergy remedy. I never bought it. Never even searched for it. I went through that receipt line by line. None of these items were scanned. They were placed in my bags after checkout. Someone is close enough to reach into my groceries between the register and my kitchen, and I have no idea when it's happening. The honey. That's the detail that changes everything. Not some random snack, a specific medical recommendation from a private telehealth appointment. Whoever's doing this isn't guessing, and she's standing in her kitchen holding the proof. 3 Saturdays, 3 items nobody scanned, nobody saw. Whatever's happening, it's closer than the grocery store. After the honey incident, OP is officially done making excuses. The confusion phase is over. Next trip to the store, she walks in with one goal: catch whoever is doing this in the act. I watched every item go from belt to bag, carried everything myself, no bagger, no help, loaded the car the second I walked out and drove straight home, no stops. When I got upstairs and started unpacking, I found a box of this very specific herbal tea I only ever order online. Never bought it in a store. Not on my receipt, just sitting between my produce like it belonged there. I went back the next morning and asked the manager to pull the checkout security footage. We watched it together, frame by frame. Nobody touched my bags. Not one person came close after they left the register. So it is not happening at the store. I drive straight home every single time. That leaves the parking garage or my building. I started locking my car between every trip from the trunk to the kitchen. 2 bags, lock, go upstairs, come back down, unlock, repeat. Next grocery run, I did all of that. Got upstairs with the last load, and there, sitting perfectly upright in the bag, was a small glass bottle of perfume. The exact perfume I wore in college. It has been discontinued for years. You cannot find it anywhere anymore. Unopened, cap still sealed, placed gently on top of my groceries like a gift. I stood there holding it, and I was not confused anymore. I was afraid. I called my friend Jess that night and told her everything. She said she believed me, but I heard the pause before she answered. Think about what that means for a second. The tea she only buys online, never purchased in person, never mentioned to anyone at that store. A perfume from college that has not been manufactured in years. Whoever is doing this is not just brushing past her in the checkout line. They know her purchase history. They know her past. This is someone who has been studying her life in detail and for a long time. And the security footage proved one thing. It is not happening at the store. Nobody went near her bags. She drives straight home, no stops. So wherever these items are being placed, it is somewhere between her car trunk and her kitchen counter. That is a very short list of places, and every single one of them is way too close to where she sleeps. OP is not dealing with a prankster. She is dealing with someone patient, someone careful. And she still has no idea who they are. After the perfume, OP decides she's done playing this game on someone else's terms. I changed everything. Different stores, different days, completely random times. I drove 20 minutes out of my way to a store I'd never been to. I paid cash. I watched every single person near me like my life depended on it. And for 2 weeks, nothing. No gum, no lemons, no mystery items, just my groceries. I started sleeping through the night again. I stopped checking my bags 3 times before putting things away. I thought maybe whoever it was got bored. Maybe they moved on. So I went back to my usual store. 1 trip, just a few things. I was in and out in 15 minutes, and I checked every bag in the car before I drove home. Everything was normal. I carried the bags up, set them on the counter, started unpacking. And at the bottom of the last bag, folded in half and tucked under a box of pasta, was a handwritten note. 2 words. Missed you. I couldn't breathe. I sat on the kitchen floor for I don't know how long. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I called the police and they came out and took a report, but there's nothing they can actually do about a note and some groceries. I bought a doorbell camera, but it only covers my front door, not the hallway or the garage. I started sleeping with a knife on my nightstand. I don't feel safe in my own home anymore. And then, the comments started connecting dots OP hadn't seen yet. The fact that the items aren't on the receipt is what gets me. That means this isn't some scanning error. Someone is physically putting things in your bags. Please get cameras yesterday. I had a stalker who used to leave things in my mailbox that matched my purchases. It took me months to realize he was following me to the store. This has all the same patterns. Take this seriously. Please tell me you're not carrying bags in multiple trips from your car. If someone is following you, that's the window. 1 trip, everything at once, or get someone to walk with you. I always do multiple trips. Always. I park in the basement garage and take the elevator up, and I usually do 3 or 4 trips because I buy for the whole week. That means my front door is unlocked for like 10 minutes total while I go back and forth. I feel sick typing this out. 10 minutes, door unlocked. And she's been doing it every single week. A few weeks of silence. Then, OP came back with an update post. I installed cameras, and now I know how he's getting in. So I took your advice, all of it. I got a peephole cam for the hallway, and I asked building management to pull the parking garage footage from the last 2 months. They were weird about it, but they did it. And I wish they hadn't. The garage cameras show the same man walking into the parking structure on foot every single time I pull in. Every single time. He follows me to the elevator, rides up, gets off on my floor, and just stands in the hallway. I never saw him once because I was already inside by then. But here is the part that broke me. My door lock. There are scratches around the keyhole. Fresh ones I never noticed because I never thought to look. He was not putting things in my bags at the store. He was not putting them in my car. He was walking into my apartment during the 2 minutes I went back down for a second load of bags. He has been inside my home. Every single time. The peephole cam confirmed it on my last trip. 90 seconds after I walk in, he shows up at my door. He just stands there, waiting. When I did not leave again, he turned around and walked away. I am writing this from my friend's apartment. I am not going back. I need you to sit with that for a second before we get to the comments. People lost it after this one. Check your door lock for scratches or tool marks. If someone has access to your apartment, this goes way beyond the grocery store. They could be inside while you're asleep. This is what I was thinking too. If the items aren't being placed at the store, then someone is entering her apartment during those trips to the car, which means they know her schedule down to the minute. They're watching her leave and timing it. I used to work grocery, and this is not a store error. Items don't just appear in bags post-checkout. Someone is doing this deliberately, and they're close to you. Way too close. So here's where it all comes together. I took the footage straight to building management and demanded answers. They identified him immediately, a maintenance worker named Dale who'd been on staff for 3 years. He had access to the master key and had made a copy for himself. I called the police and they arrested him at his shift the next morning. When they searched his locker, they found a notebook logging every single one of my grocery trips. Dates, times, what store, how long I was gone. There were photos of the inside of my apartment taken from angles that meant he was standing in my kitchen, my hallway, my bedroom doorway. And there were plastic bags full of small items purchased in bulk. Gum, honey, tea, lemons, even 2 more bottles of that discontinued perfume. The restraining order was granted the same week. I broke my lease, didn't fight the penalty, packed everything I could fit in my car, and moved to a city 4 hours away. New apartment, new grocery store, new everything. I'm trying to feel normal again. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. When I moved in, my new landlord left a welcome basket at my door. Snacks, a candle, a little card, and tucked in the corner was a pack of peppermint mints. I am 99% sure I never mentioned liking mints to anyone. I know it's probably nothing. I know welcome baskets have random stuff in them, but I can't open a grocery bag anymore without checking every single item twice. I don't know if that feeling ever goes away. The items were never random. They were proof of presence. A signature left by someone who wanted her to know without her knowing, until it was too late. And now, grocery shopping, the most mundane thing in the world, is ruined. One comment on this post really stuck with me. The lemon. The single lemon is what's chilling me. That's not random. That's someone watching what you eat and adding to it like they're part of your household. That's the part that stays with you, isn't it? Not the break-in, not the arrest, but the idea that someone slipped into her life so quietly she didn't even notice for weeks. All right, we've got one more story to get through today, and trust me, it's just as unsettling. On to the next one. I, 27 female, took a cab in Morocco, and the driver had a photo of my dead grandparents on his dashboard. This one was posted to r/nosleep about 6 days ago by a user called quietly_shaking_. And I'm telling you right now, this story starts quiet and then it just does not let go. OP opens the post, and for the first few lines, it reads like any solo travel entry, but then it shifts. So I'm 27 female, and I just got to Marrakesh 2 days ago. Solo trip. Booked it 3 weeks after my ex moved out because I was staring at walls in our apartment doing nothing. Always wanted to see Morocco, figured now or never. Heat at the airport hit me like a wall the second I stepped outside. I found a cab, older white Mercedes, driver maybe late 50s, calm, barely spoke. I sat in the back, noticing the dashboard, prayer beads on the mirror, cracked phone mount, and clipped next to the sun visor, a faded photograph. I glanced at it casually. Then I looked again. A young couple in front of a house with blue shutters. The man had the jawline from every family album I've ever seen. The woman had a gap in her front teeth. My grandmother had that exact gap. Both dead over 10 years. I asked about the photo and my voice cracked. He turned slowly, smiled, not creepy, gentle, patient, and said one word: Ashworth. My grandmother's maiden name. My family stopped using it before I was born. Then he said calmly, I have been waiting a long time for someone from the family to come back. I'm typing this from my Riyadh. My hands won't stop shaking. I don't know what to do. And that is where she leaves it. Alone in a city she doesn't know, holding a name she was never meant to hear, spoken by a stranger who has apparently been waiting for her family to show up. This one only gets heavier from here. Now here is where things start to unravel. She gets back to the Riyadh, and this is where the post stops reading like a strange travel story and becomes something you feel in your chest. I don't remember paying the fare. I barely remember finding my room. I just remember sitting on the bed, holding a business card with nothing on it except a phone number. No name, no company, just digits in blue ink. The driver hadn't asked my name, hadn't looked surprised. He just said, "You look like her," and handed me the card like he'd been keeping it for years. I called my mom. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. I Googled everything I could about my grandparents. Nothing connects them to Morocco. They lived in Leeds their entire lives. Nan always said she never fancied abroad. Granddad worked the same factory for 30 years. I walked the Medina that night. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, kept turning the card over like it might say something different. The dread wasn't about danger. It was the feeling of a door cracking open onto something my family sealed shut decades ago. I tried Mum again around midnight. Nothing. So I texted my older sister, kept it casual, asked if she knew Nan's maiden name. She replied fast. Why are you asking about Nan's maiden name? Where did you hear Ashworth? Confused, almost alarmed. That is when I understood. The name wasn't forgotten. It was buried. By all of them. Think about that. Her sister is not confused because she doesn't recognize the name. She is alarmed because OP found it. That is not a family forgetting. That is a family making sure something stays gone. And OP is alone in a Riyadh in Marrakesh with a business card she still hasn't dialed, a mother who won't answer the phone, and this slow, horrible certainty that her grandparents had a whole other life nobody was ever meant to know about. That number is just sitting there on the nightstand. She hasn't called it yet. OP finally gets through to her mother the next morning, and the way this call unfolds changes everything. I called my mom first thing. She picked up on the second ring. She never picks up that early. I told her I was in Morocco. Long silence. Not confused silence, heavy silence. Then she said, "Who told you to go there?" Not, "Why did you go?" Who told you to go there? Like someone sent me. I told her about the cab, the photo, the name, Ashworth. She said she needed to call me back and hung up before I could finish. 3 hours. I sat in that Riyadh staring at my phone for 3 hours. I couldn't take it, so I went back toward the airport, walked the taxi stands, described the driver to anyone who'd listen. Nobody knew him. Just shrugs, and lots of drivers work this route. I walked through the Medina, past Riyadhs with blue shutters, and every single one made my stomach drop because any of them could be the house in that photo. Mum finally called back around 2. I could tell she'd been crying. Her voice was wrecked. She said, "I need you to come home. Don't get in that cab again." I pushed. I said, "I'm not leaving Morocco without answers." She went quiet and then said, "There are things about your grandparents you don't know. I was hoping you'd never have to. She promised to explain everything when I'm back in England. Then the line went dead. And the comments had a lot to say about that phone call. I really need you to talk to your mother again. There's more she's not telling you. The fact that she immediately said, "Don't contact him," instead of asking if you were okay, tells me everything. I know. Believe me, I know. The first thing out of her mouth wasn't, "Are you safe?" or "What did he say?" It was, "Promise me you won't go back to that cab." She was already crying before I finished the sentence. I've never heard her sound like that. I'm going to call my aunt tomorrow because my mom has gone completely silent since. Won't pick up. The fact that he said her maiden name so casually is what got me. That's not something you Google. He knew. That last bit is what really landed. Not the photo, not the cab. The way her mom's voice cracked open and then slammed shut, like she'd been bracing for this call for years. So remember how her mom told her to come home and not get back in that cab? OP didn't listen. She didn't fly home. A few days later, she came back with an update post. I found the house in the photo, and I wish I hadn't gone inside. I didn't get on the plane. I couldn't. I called my mom again and told her I wasn't hanging up until she told me the truth. She fought it for maybe 20 minutes, and then she just broke. My grandparents lived in Morocco from 1971 to 1973. Granddad had a contract job in Casablanca. During those 2 years, they had a son, a boy born right here in Marrakesh. When the contract ended and they went back to England, they left him behind. Mum doesn't know the full details, whether he was left with someone, dropped at an institution, or something worse. She was born years later in Leeds and didn't learn any of this until she found letters after Nan's death. She burned them, changed back to her married name, buried every trace of the Ashworth connection. The driver is my uncle. He tracked down enough to know the family surname, found that old photo, and has been driving the airport to Medina route for 15 years. 15 years showing that photograph to tourists, waiting for a face that looked like his mother's. My grandparents didn't lose a child. They discarded one. And that child became a man whose entire adult life orbited around a single faded photograph, scanning thousands of strangers for the echo of his own blood. Mum begged me to let it go. Come home. Never speak of it again. The comments on this one were heavy. Your grandparents abandoned a child in a foreign country and just went home? I'm sorry, but that's genuinely one of the most disturbing things I've read on here, and the bar is high. 15 years driving the same airport route showing the same photo? That's not patience. That's obsession shaped like patience. What's worse is it worked. 15 years and he actually found one of them sitting in his back seat. Imagine how many thousands of tourists he showed that photo to and they just shrugged. The odds are astronomical. That's not obsession. That's grief running on an engine that never turns off. So this is it. OP's last morning in Marrakesh. And she's not getting on that plane without trying one more time. I went back to the taxi stand near the airport on my last morning. I had rehearsed everything I was going to say. I had it all planned out in my head. I was going to tell him I knew who he was. I was going to say, I'm sorry. And then I saw the car. I recognized the dent on the rear panel, the beads still hanging from the mirror. But there was a different man behind the wheel. Young, maybe 30. I asked him about the previous driver. He told me he bought the car 3 days ago from a lot, didn't know the previous owner, didn't know anything about a photo. The photo was gone from the dashboard. I asked around the rest of the stand. Nobody recognized my description. One older driver squinted at me for a long time and said there used to be a man who matched that description years ago, but he hadn't seen him in a long time. I flew home that afternoon. My mother refuses to discuss any of it. My sister told me she doesn't want to know. I'm sitting here now holding a business card with a phone number that just rings and nobody ever picks up. I don't know if he found what he was looking for when he saw my face. I don't know if that was enough for him. I don't know where he is now. But I know he was real, and I know my family threw him away, and I know nobody is coming to fix this. And that was it. The account went dark after that post. No follow-up, no closure, nothing. Just that business card and a phone that never stops ringing. The comments on this one hit different, though. The car being sold 3 days ago is the part that made my stomach drop. 3 days. He sold it the day after you found him. He wasn't a ghost. That's worse. Ghosts don't choose to haunt. He did. Every single day. Sometimes the scariest stories on here aren't about monsters or demons or things hiding in the basement. They're about the ordinary cruelty that families are capable of. And the people who spend entire lifetimes sitting in the wreckage waiting for someone to come back. OP never posted again. And that is the last story for today.